So today we are looking at payment methods in exports. Payment methods in export. So last week we spoke about export documentation and all the documents that we need for a successful shipment or for a successful export. So all these documents, one of the very important document we didn't talk about, or that is not really like a document. Let me just say contract, export contract, which is usually within between you and the importer, the buying party. And this contract, though it will state all the full description of everything the two parties want to do, that is you, the exporter, and the buyer or importer. But one of the crucial things that will be stated in that contract is how you are going to get paid. So if your Incoterm is going to be like free on board, that you be paid immediately the shipment gets to the port, let's say Lagos Port, Apapa, or Tinkan Island. So immediately it gets there, uh, you get paid, and the container is loaded on the vessel. So which is free on board. So how do you get paid even though both of you have agreed on free on board? So what's the payment method going to be? So the thing about payment method is just that it helps you to secure your payment. So I used to teach some air freight class when we are talking about foodstuff exporting and mini exporting. One of the topics I teach is how to get paid, how to make sure that you get paid. And that's because most times you can even do this business, put in your millions, put in the energy, the effort, and everything. Then at the end of the day, your payment is not forthcoming or your money is not forthcoming. So, how do you de-risk that, or how do you mitigate this risk to make sure that you are secured, or that your contract is secured and tamper proof, and at the end of the day you don't have any complaints or any issues at all. So I'm going to tell you like a brief story that happens like some years back when I just started training. When we started this uh, international trade training for executives and people. So, but for today's class, our objective is we understand the key international payment methods. So there are several international payment methods, but for this curriculum and module, we are going to be considering the ones that are really essential for us at this level, that are really, really essential. If you start shipment today, what are the terms or options that you need to know, that are like fast track, that your importer already also knows about and won't cause any form of delay, and all that. So those are the terms we are going to be discussing. Then compare risk and advantage of each method. Yes, we are going to do that. We are going to identify risk exposure, points in export transactions. So what this does is that for every payment term or method, there are risks that are ascribed to them. These risks, some of them fall to the exporter and some falls to the importer. And some are shared, like shared risk. So we'll discuss it and we'll look at, okay, you as the exporter, which payment method are you supposed to stick with? So it's not, someone can send you an export contract now. By the time you read through the export contract, you see that, oh, there is something wrong with the payment method. I can't do this kind of contract. Okay, so you also look at you also learn how banks and intermediary support exporters. Yes, where do bank comes come in helping you with your export contracts? Though we've discussed about your bank approving your Form NXP when you apply on trade system. But there are also ways in which your bank also come in when we are talking about export financing, not just banks now, but even private institutions. There are some private institutions, there are investment bankers, let me say, other financial institutions that are actually involved in trade financing. So I apply practical knowledge in selecting the best payment option. So you also learn how to work with that, how to work with that. So our first slide for today is importance of payment in export. What is the importance of payment in export? So payment is the final step in successful trade, in successful trade. Payment is the final step. It secures exporters' effort, time, and resources. Time and resources. So let me narrate this story. So there was a time we held this conference in mainland. We held this conference on the mainland, and I think it was a day or two. It was for a day or two. So someone came. I met this woman there, and we got talking, and I was able to just train her a little, not an in-depth training, just a little. But with that knowledge, because she has the financial, muscle, she got this contract. She got the contract from someone who I happen to know, but I didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. So she put in some millions, I think about $25,000 into exporting raw cashew nuts, from Ogbomosho. So after they did the the deal, the contract and all that, they sent these raw cashew nuts to India, yeah, either India or Vietnam, either of the two. So sent there. Then 1 month passed, second month passed. In all this, I didn't know anything that was happening because I wasn't carried along with it. So by the third month, the woman just sent me a message, and started talking about this person. That the person gave her a contract, an export contract to ship cashew nuts to Vietnam. And for 3 months now, she has not received her payment, blah, blah, blah. As at that time, she was expecting to be paid, I think maybe $35,000. Yeah. I think she was expecting to be paid between 35 and $40,000. So I said, okay. Okay, so she explained everything to me. Now, after the explanation, I asked her, okay, where is the contract, like where is the export contract? Because when things happen like this and maybe your buyer is defaulting, you have to first fall back to the export contract, because it's when you look at the export contracts now, you want to search for, is there anything that secures you, the exporter, in the export contract? Is there anything? So I have to first look at that. So the kind of contract both parties have will allow us to understand how to proceed from there. But in this case, the woman hasn't gotten paid for 3 months. So if we go back to our slide that says importance of payment in export, if you look at the first bullet, it says payment is the final step in successful trade. So in this case, even though the woman has shipped like a container, 40-feet container of a raw cashew nuts, RCN, to Vietnam, the trade is not yet successful. So that's the first thing. The trade is not yet successful. So the woman has put in resources, financial resources, about $20,000. The woman has put in effort, time, and all that. Now, upon all this, the woman has not been paid for that. So Exposa's effort, time, and resources was not secured in this case. So going forward with the story, we had to start messaging this buyer. We have to start applying pressure in some certain areas, in some certain places, and as at that time, the buyer had to like tell us that he's on vacation. Yes, he's on vacation, and once he gets back from vacation, he's going to make the payment and all that. Then I think after he came back from vacation, I think maybe he gave one excuse or something, but later on made the payment about between that 35 and $40,000. The payment entered. You know. So now in payment terms, the woman, if she was knowledgeable about the contract she was about to enter, she would have known that, oh, for this contract, I'm not secured or it's risky. The risk is high. How do I mitigate this risk? So she didn't think in that line. Why? Because she wasn't patient enough to be trained or to register for an in-depth training that breaks all these things down for her. And that's how she would have lost that $20,000 that she put into the business. She would have lost it completely and nothing would have happened. She would just be telling people that she did the business, she was scammed, the business is not real, the business is not genuine. Meanwhile, people are making millions of dollars from exporting and international trade every single day, every day. So it would have been her own fault. So that's the thing with payment. And I'm still going to use that example subsequently in our class, because there are still some things that I need to explain to you. So provides importers with assurance of delivery. So that's one of the things payment also does. When the importer knows that, okay, this is the kind of payment term we agree on, the importer is also assured that, yes, this buyer is going to send my product. Okay, so there are some payment terms that secures the buyer, that gives the buyer, some rights over the seller or the exporter. So when you also look at incorrect payment arrangements can cause loss of funds because this is international trade. We are all not using Naira. Some are using USD, some are using Yuan, some are using, so different kind of currency fluctuations and variations across the world. Delays in delivery. So incorrect payment arrangements can cause delay in delivery of the goods at the port of destination. Okay, at the port of destination, that is the port where the container is going. It can also cause trade disputes among countries, between parties, and between companies. Between companies, the one that is exporting and the one that is importing. Now, what are the factors influencing choice of payment method? Factors influencing choice of payment method. One is trust between the buyer and seller. Trust between buyer and seller. So, if you started exporting today and you are doing your marketing and your promotion, some people will come to talk to you in your inbox for you to start business or transaction with them. So when they tell you that they want to buy this, they want to buy that, and you give them a quotation, because that might be the first time both of you are actually interacting, they will not be comfortable dropping the your quotation, the amount in your quotation. So let's say you quoted $50,000. They won't just say, okay, send your account details or your bank details and let me send you $50,000. And one of the reasons for that also is that there is no trust yet. Trust can be established later, but it won't be immediately. It won't be very early. So another point is political and economic stability is another factor that is influencing payments method. So when you look at countries that are ravaged by wars, countries where wars is actually happening currently, if a buyer should tell you that send the goods, when it gets here, I'll pay you. But the buyer is telling you that send the goods, when I sell it, I'll pay you. So that's a problem already. And you won't be accepting such an offer. So this economic stability is one of the key reasons. It's one of the key factors that is influencing the choice of what type of payment method that we select or that we choose. And value and type of goods exported. What's the value? What are the types of goods? Are they perishable goods? Are they fast-moving consumer goods? And is it oil? Is it crude oil? Does it have to do with something that is really expensive, like cocoa beans? Is it metal? Like are they metals that are mined in the country? Is it gold? Is it diamond? So all these things you need to also look into. So the value and the type of goods influences what payments that you will settle for at the end of the day. So we also look at importers' credit worthiness. So this can also be a huge factor at play because if you have the company details that want to import from you and you just go to Google to search for their details and all that, and I see that this company there is a red alert company. There are lots of complaints about the company owing people here and there, not paying people for the goods that they ship to them. You won't be able to also ship to that same company. You won't be convinced to do that. So banking infrastructure of both countries. Yes, so when we are talking about banking infrastructure, if someone in the US, in the UK, China, India sends you a letter of credit in Nigeria, it takes long for banks in Nigeria to confirm that letter of credit. It takes long for them to confirm. And when you even take your letter of credit to Nigerian banks, the way it is handled, almost like a manual process, unlike in other countries where everything is digital and things are digital and are efficient with speed. It is not like that in Nigeria. It might take a lot of time, for you to process your LC, for you to confirm your LC and all that. So it does takes some time. So we can say that some part of Nigeria's banking infrastructure are still like archaic, they are still backward. Even though we can say that they are moving forward part time. So when you also look at trade agreements and regulations is also another factor. The kind of agreement that different parties have most of the time could be countries, could be regulation of trade policies within countries and all that. So or even though in Africa as a whole or in Nigeria as a whole, our trade we have good trade agreements with countries across the world, countries around the world. As Nigeria is also blessed with different kind of commodities and minerals to be exported. But in a situation whereby, like maybe this country is giving Nigeria a higher tariff, or that country is banning some kind of products from entering into its country, specifically from Nigeria. Yeah, so these kind of regulations also affect the kind of payment that we settle for at the end of the day, or the kind of payment method that someone is going to settle for. So if you look at these payment terms, we are going to be looking into five types of payment terms. So the first one is advance payment. So advance payment is simple, just as the name implies. It is if you want to export to France, to Paris, for instance, the buyer from Paris has already sold you or given you money for all that you need. Even before you go to market to do anything. So advance payments is always good if you want to export on a small scale, if you are looking at food stuff exporting, or you are looking at mini exporting, you request for an advance payment. So sometimes also you can get a buyer or an importer that will give you 100% advance payment, and some will give you just a percentage. So might give you 50% and say, okay, when you do this, do this, do this, I'll give you another balance of maybe 50%, or I'll give you another 30%. Then maybe when I receive the shipment, I'll give you the balance of the remaining 20%. So depending on what you choose. These payment terms, they are open for consideration, they are open for selection. So both parties have to discuss it. Okay, so that's just advance payment. But we'll still come back to the risks later. Now, the second one is open account. Open account. So open account is just like, okay, so now in the story that I told you earlier on about that woman, she did that shipment based on open account, because now when I now asked her that, oh, so where is your export contract and all that, so that we can look into it and see how we can call out this buyer or whatever it is. She doesn't have a contract. She doesn't have a contract. She just, like it was just like talking to this person and saying, okay, okay, you need this, okay, I'll make it happen. So when it gets there, the person also says, when it comes there, I'll make payment and all that. So open account is just simply you receiving an export contract that say you should, ship a commodity down to the country. And when that commodity gets there and the buyer has cleared it, the buyer will now pay you the money both of you agree on. That is what open account is all about. So we are still going to dig deep into each option. So now documentary collections, let me say the kind of payment that it's not like open account, but it's regulated. Okay, it's regulated in a way that is the risk surrounding it is a bit reduced because of one or two things that I'll mention later. So in advance payments, we say you get the payment before you even get to the market and buy whatever you want to ship. In open account, it means both parties are just signing a contract that, okay, I'm going to export this to you, and when it gets to you, you are going to pay me. While in the documentary collections, It's like open account because you are not getting an advance payment or you are not getting any cover. But what you are getting from documentary collections is that there will be a way to, to secure the exporter or to make sure that the importer pays, that the importer pays for the shipment. Then number four is letters of credit, LCs. Letters of credit. Letters of credit, they are like documents presented by your buyer's bank to your bank. Okay, so it's really like a bank-to-bank transaction. And for any exporter, the letter of credit is like the second best option that you can ever go for. Okay, so the fifth one is consignment. The way consignment work is that you load your shipment to the buyer's destination when the buyer has been able to like sell that shipment. The buyer will now pay you for for your own services. So that's how it works. So each method balances risk between exporter and importer. So like I said earlier, that we are only going to be focusing on the payment terms that are really meant for you setting out or starting out. So we have, so the first one, let's talk about advance payment. Advance payment. So in brackets, you see exporter friendly. In brackets, you see exporter friendly. So if we say exporter friendly, it means it is not importer friendly. That's what it means. So if we say this is the most secured form of payment for an exporter, it means it is the least secured form of payment for the importer. So now, if you look at advance payments, the importer pays before shipment. That is before you load at all. Importer has already paid you. So your invoice, everything you are doing is $20,000. Importer already paid you for it. So now, most secure for exporter and least secure for the importer. So the advantages is it eliminates exporters' credit risk. It eliminates exporters' credit risk. Why? Because the exporter already have the money and the capacity, let me say the capacity or the facility to fund the contract. It also improves cash flow because the money has already come and is in your account. It improves the cash flow of your business. It improves the cash flow of your business. So the disadvantages, if we look at it for both sides, we say importer bears all risk. Importer bears all risk. So the person that is buying from you is one bearing the risk. Why? Because the person already paid you. So if you like, you can say you are not even doing the shipment again. You are not sending anything. So the importer is bearing the risk. It is less competitive in attracting buyers. So now let's say you are looking for an export contract and you are telling people that, oh, I can export this commodity to you. I can export this commodity to you. If you want to buy, you now put it there that, but I only take advance payments. But I only take advance payment. That is, I don't take other forms of payment. So it is less competitive to prospective buyers of your commodity, So they will not really be attracted to it. Why? Because they are taking all the risk. They are bearing all the risk, paying you up front. And don't forget, this is Nigeria, that the country, a lot of people are falling to different kind of fraud. So a lot of people have, you know, fallen to different kind of fraud or scam from Nigerians. Okay, from Nigerians, and because of this, other countries or other businesses from these countries do not trust Nigerian businesses. So some of them who do not have representative in Nigeria would not want to just send funds or send money to Nigeria just like that. So and there are even some companies that they've not been in Nigeria before, or they've never been in Nigeria before. So if they want to do business uh with a Nigerian exporter or with a Nigerian export company, they will not want to go for advance payment. There is no way they will be requesting for advance payment because of everything they've heard. So our second payment method we are looking at is open account. So open account. So those kind of foreign companies, they will rather go for open account because open account is import friendly. Is import friendly. So why is it importers friendly? It is importers friendly because goods are shipped and delivered before payment. So you that is the exporter, you spend money, you put your money together, you do everything, you load the container, and you ship the container to the buying um, port of delivery after it is cleared, opened, and all that. So the importer will now pay you. So it is importer friendly. So even some importer will use it to their advantage to say that maybe what you sent, there are some things wrong with it. It's not 100% okay, maybe about 2% is not okay, and we want to deduct it from the price. So which can actually cause different kind of back and forth between the two parties. So what are the advantages of open accounts? Open accounts is attractive to importers, we already say, because in this case, the risk falls on the exporter. So you as the exporter, you are the one bearing all the risk for open accounts. So it is most secured for the importer. It is most secured for the importer. So that's why it's attractive to importers. It helps build strong business relationship. Yes, because the importer will now look at it that, oh, this person is going to, send the goods. And sometimes some importers already have this notion that the exporter does not have the money to actually ship that goods, or maybe it is not their goods, or maybe it is a stolen goods and all that. So because of that, they will just say, let's do open account. So if the exporter really have that capacity, he will export that goods even without getting paid at first. So disadvantage is that it's high risk of non-payment for exporter. Yes, high risk. So the importer can decide to change his mind. Yes, or renegotiate the price. Why? Because the container is already over there with him. So cash flow delays, yes, this delays cash flows, unlike when you are paid in advance payment. Then suitable mainly for established partners. Yes, mainly for established partners in the sense that you already have the match, the financial capacity to take up those kind of contracts. Well, you might not have the financial muscle yourself also, so but you might have uh, different companies aside yours who are ready to finance your contracts, or high net worth individuals or other financial institutions. So we have documentary collections. So let's just dig deep into documentary collections. Documentary collections, Exporters Bank collects payment through Importers Bank. Okay. Exporters Bank collects payment through Importers Bank. The letter of credit is also want to work in this way, but this is really different. So, but when you look at, when we talk about open account, the importer directly can just pay to your own exporter's account. But in documentary collection, it's the importer's bank that will pay to the exporter's bank. So there is a reason why this happens that way. So just let's quickly look at it. Two types. We have document against payment. Importer pays before receiving documents. Okay. And the second one is that we have documents against acceptance. Importer accepts a time draft promising future payment. Now, most Nigerians, or let me say in Nigeria, most exporters go for document against payment. So most exporters you see doing exports and all that in Nigeria, document against payment is what they use. Okay, it's only on rare occasion they use document against acceptance, but what they do is document against payment. So how does document against payment work? So for open accounts, when we're talking about open accounts, you just say this is the contract. Both of you will sign the contract and all that, but it is when the container gets to the buyer and all that the buyer gets to pay you, the exporter. So when you load a container on a vessel that is going to the port of destination where your buyer is or where your importer is, the shipping company will give you the bill of lading for that container. That bill of lading plus the other documents that you've made, you are going to, pack everything together and DHL it, or maybe any other fast logistics to your importer, that is to your buyer. That's what your buyer will use to clear the shipment that is coming to his or her port. Now, in the case of documentary collection, as that container is now on the vessel, you receive your bill of lading and all the other documentation and certification that you're supposed to do. You've done everything. You are supposed to send it to your buyer so that your buyer clears the container and all that. But now in this case of document against payment, instead of you to send that document through DHL to your buyer, you are going to send it to your buyer's bank. So that's the difference. You are going to send it to your buyer's bank. So your buyer's bank will notify your buyer that, oh, your document for social shipment is here, it has been sent, blah, blah, and all that. Your buyer will now go to his bank, collect the shipping document, and pay the bank. That's it. So let's say the total amount of money that your buyer is supposed to pay is $100,000, just as an example. And you send the documentation, bill, everything to the buyer's bank. The buyer gets there. The buyer pays that amount for his bank to release his document to him. So when the goods come in, he opens the goods, he clears it and all that, checks through it, and everything is fine, everything is good. The buyer's bank pays you, the exporter's bank. That is, the buyer's bank will just pay straight away into the exporter's bank, and that's done. And you have your money. You have your money. So what makes that a bit secure more than open account is the involvement of bank. So when you see things like cash against document through bank, cash against document through bank, or you see things like documents against payment. They are the same thing. So when you see someone saying, oh, payment term is cash against documents. So cash against documents, it means that you are going to pay before receiving documents. If you see documents against payment, that's still the same thing. You pay before receiving document. So, but when we are talking about documents against acceptance, we are talking about the importer accepts a time draft. So a time draft is like, when the importer is telling you that, okay, by so time, I'll pay for the container. So in this case, the goods also matter. So it might be that maybe the importer has to sell some or parts of the goods inside that container before payment can be made. So it also happens like that, depending on the understanding between both of you. But the importer will now make sure to pay at that time. So advantages of documentary collection is that one, it's safer than open account. Yes, very safe. Less costly than LCs. Yes, LCs are costly. We'll go into LCs after this one, I think. LCs are letters of credit and they are negotiable instruments. Okay, so they are more expensive. Then we have disadvantages is banks don't guarantee payment. Yes, the documentary collection is cash against document through bank. Document against payment is still through bank, but bank is just an intermediary. So the banks there is just a medium for which payment is going to be made. The bank is not giving you any guarantee or assuring you that, yes, $100,000 will be paid into your account. No, it is the importer's bank, the buyer's bank that will pay that money to the bank, for the bank rather to credit your account, your export proceeds account. Then there is risk if importer refuses documents, So that's another disadvantage. So if importer refuses those documents, like maybe if importer says, okay, I don't even want the documents anymore, or I don't need the documents. So what do you do as the exporter? So these are the reasons why we are looking at payment method today. So after documentary collection, we've spoken about open accounts. We've spoken about, okay, the first one we spoke about is advance payments, then open account, then documentary collections. Other documentary collections we spoke about cash against documents, which is also the same as document against payment. And also talk about document against acceptance. So another one is letters of credit. We call it LCs. Letters of credit. So now, letter of credit is a written undertaking by a bank to pay exporter if all terms are met. So in your export contract, if both of you have agreed that this is the kind of commodities I want or that I'm going to send to you, and you as the exporter, you met all the requirements of that contract, and an LC has already been awarded in your favor towards that contract, the bank will not have any choice than to pay you for it, than to pay you for the job. So let me see what happens. Let's discuss what happens. So the first step to any trade transaction is your export contract. There will be like a draft contract where by both of you look at every nitty-gritty, everything inside the contract. Then you come to an agreement on price, on Incoterms, on payment method, on all these things. So after an agreement, you finalize your export contract. The buyer will now send that export contract to his own bank to generate, to get a letter of credit for the exporter's bank, like for your own bank. Your own bank, which is the exporter's bank, will look through that letter of credit draft, that is still at a draft level draft, and it will be sent to you so you can make changes. So once changes are made, you send it back to your bank, and your bank in return send it back to the exporter's bank. After that back and forth, if everything is set and all corrections has been made and all that, the final LC will now be released to you, the exporter, to be released to you. So you have that LC, and this LC can also have a time frame. It can have a time frame of 90 days, of 120 days, of 60 days, that it will expire if you don't use it. Because what it means is that on the buyer's part or on the buyer's end, it means that contract is there. What do I mean? It means the money for the buyer to pay you is in the buyer's bank account. So the bank that issues that letter of credit will not allow the buyer to spend that money. So you're able to get a contract where the buyer issues a letter of credit of, let's say, $1 million for your business. It means that in the buyer's account, the buyer has $1 million for that export contract that has been fixed. The buyer cannot use that money for any other thing until the LC gets expired, until the number of days are counted and the LC has expired. That's what it means. So that way, you as the exporter, you already know that, yes, the money is on ground. It's just remaining for me to work. That's why when you have a copy of that letter of credit, you can go to any bank, anybody, to raise money, to raise loan, to raise finance for that export contract, because everyone knows that, oh, that money is there. You have a letter of credit already. So let me just support you. Let me just give you $20,000. Okay, you need 1 million. I'll give you 500. Maybe this will be my interest and all that when you get paid. So, but you get finances raised easily with letter of credit. Advantages: we have high level of security for both parties. High level of security. Yes, an LC has a very high level of security. And the risk there, if you ask me, are like shared. They are shared between both parties, the exporter and the importer. So payment guarantee if documents comply. Yeah, so if all your documents comply, that you did everything you're supposed to do, your payment is guaranteed, because once your bank confirms all has been done, they are going to release your payments to you. That payment, your own bank will not wait for the buyer's bank. They will release the payment to you immediately. So for disadvantages, we have expensive. Yeah, to actually issue a letter of credit, there are bank charges, and those charges is a lot. Then you have strict compliance is required. Minor errors equal to non-payment. Yes, strict compliance is required. You have to read through your letter of credit, read through it very well, understand what's written there, check through your export contract, make sure you have everything to comply, because your money is there. So the burden is now on your shoulders to deliver well and just get your money. So the types of letters of credit that we have. So from that letter of credit, we can see that Letter of credit, it's the most after advance payment. After advance payment, letter of credit is the most secured for an exporter after advance payment. And if you look at letters of credit, it's really secure for exporter. It is also secure for importer because the exporter does not get the money until the exporter fulfills uh, his obligation according to the export contract. So until that is done, the exporter is not going to get anything. So the money is still in the importer's account. And after advance payment, letters of credit, the next secured one for an exporter is documentary collection. The least secured for an exporter is open accounts. Is open account. That one that you just ship your ship and all that and you get paid afterwards. So what are the types of letters of credit? We have revocable and irrevocable. So just like the name sounds, revocable is one that the buyer who issued it can revoke it, can just say, no, revoke that letter of credit. Doesn't want it existing anymore. Maybe the buyer has gotten another exporter, that he wants to award the contract to. So that can happen. Irrevocable letter of credit is one that you cannot revoke it, you cannot change it, you cannot change any detail inside. So the way it is when it was issued, that's the way it's going to be till it's either expired or fulfilled. So we also have confirmed or unconfirmed. So confirmed by the buyer's bank, by your own bank, confirmed that the money is right there. And we have the unconfirmed also. This unconfirmed most of the time is usually issued by like financial institutions, like some organizations who just say they are trade financiers and all that. Not the real uh, commercial banks that issue letter of credit. We have site LC and we have Uswans. That site letter of credit is more like when your document has gotten to the buyer and the buyer is able to cite the document, the letter of credit is the payment rather on the letter of credit is paid to you. So that's how site letter of credit works and use which deals with time. But the best for any beginner exporter is irrevocable letter of credit. So what you really need is the irrevocable letter of credit. Though we have transferable LC, we have standby LCs. Transferable just means that if someone gives you a letter of credit now, the person can still transfer it to another exporter or use it for another export contract. That's how transferable works. We also have standby letter of credit. The standby letter of credit is one that Nigerian exporters uses a lot. So it's the standby means that it's not something that you can rotate, it's not something that you can transfer, and you can easily combine that standby with irrevocable. So you can have something like standby irrevocable letter of credit. Okay, so till you just fulfill the terms of contract for your letter of credit and you get paid. That's what the this standby, the expiry time frame, it lasts to you fulfilling your export contract. So that's how it works. Then we have exporters must choose based on buyer's location and transaction risk. So there are some importers or buyers that in some areas of the world that they are not even able to issue letter of credit. And some of these payments method might not work for them. Might not work for them. So you need to walk around, look around, discuss around what works for both parties. What works for both parties, but after advance payment, letters of credit is still the best. Then we have consignment payment. So the way consignment payment works, a lot of people also do this, and I will talk about the best place or where this actually happens with Nigerian exporters. So we have exporter ships goods, but retains ownership until importer sells them. Retains ownership until importer sells them. So sometimes if you are as a Nigerian exporter, if you are exporting foodstuff to let's say Nigerian foodstuffs, food stores in the United States, UK, Europe, or like you are shipping processed food products to African stores like Indian stores and all that across the world, you can use this consignment payment. Most especially if you are the type that travel a lot. If you travel a lot, maybe this month you're already in the US, next month you'll be in the UK, another month you are somewhere in the EU, you have the right networks, you are forming the relationship and you are traveling around. So you can use consignment payment. The advantage is that it increases competitiveness in foreign markets because everyone doesn't want to lose. So efficiency increases. So importer bears less financial risk upfront, yes, because you still retain ownership when the container gets there. So the disadvantage is that exporter bears all risk of unsold goods. So if the good isn't sold, you have to move it, considering logistics and all. Now, high potential for delayed or no payment. So yes, because if you have, okay, like for instance, there was a time one of my cousin was telling me to go into the production of coconut chips. Yes, coconut chips, because there is a supermarket just close to their town area where coconut chips is one product that sells a lot. So according to her, no matter the quantity of coconut chips that is supplied, people eat it, people buy it. So she was like, if I can start producing that and shipping it to her town in the US, she can be, supplying that supermarket. She even made videos for me and all that just to show me how people buy this product. So, um, supposing we use consignment payment, it means that because she is there, let's not say we supply like 5,000 units or 10,000 units, but it's still remaining about 2,000 units of unsold. That means she will have to go there, pack that 2,000 units, and we will now need to find a way to either sell it, dispose it or whatever the case may be. And this payment method is only suitable when strong trust exists, because someone that has already sold your product, it might not be so easy for the person to pay your money. The person too might just need to quickly use the money to do something and all that. So let's compare risks. Let's talk about risk allocation. So when we are looking at advance payment, the risk is on the importer, the person buying the goods, because he is the one paying you, the exporter. When we are talking about open accounts, the risk is on the exporter because He's doing everything with his own finance, capital, time, resource, everything. The importer is not doing anything. The importer is not sending you money. You are doing everything with your own money, expecting that when the shipment gets there, the importer will pay you. So you are bearing all the risk. Why the importer is secured. That's the most secured payment method for an importer. Then we have the documentary collection. For the documentary collection, it is a shared risk. The shared risk is that you as the exporter, you are sending the clearing documents to the importer's bank. If the importer does not get all those documents, he will not be able to clear the container. He will not be able to have access to the container. So he needs to pay the bank for the bank to release the papers of the document to him. So that's how it works. So you are trying to protect yourself. At the same time, the importer is also protected. Then we have letters of credit. This is a balanced risk also. The bank mitigates the risk. In fact, for both sides. For both sides. Now, consignment. For consignment, the risk is on the exporter and not the importer for consignment. So we can say that we can look at who has the most risk or the least risk when we are discussing advance payment, open account, documentary collection, letters of credit. So when we are looking at advance payment, the importer bears the most risk. That's it. For open account, the exporter bears the most risk. For documentary collection, both are just trying to share that risk. Meanwhile, for letters of credit, it's just a balanced process for both parties. And for consignment, the risk still falls on the exporter. Then we have risk exposure in export transactions. So we have common risk exporters face. Number one is commercial risk. The importer's refusal to pay. As it sounds, as funny as it sounds that an importer can refuse to pay, well, this really happens sometimes. That's why I do advise that no matter the kind of transaction both parties have settled for, it's always good to go online, search for the company's name, details, read about them, check for the CEO's details and all that online, read about them, so that you can know how to get in touch or contact those who should be responsible appropriately if anything goes wrong with your shipment. This is really important because some importers do really refuse to pay. Then country risk is political instability or currency restrictions. Yes, political instability is something that can really affect export transactions. War, natural disasters, and all these things. It really does. Then we have currency risk. Currency risk is exchange rate fluctuations. So when the exchange rate is not balanced or fixed and it's just fluctuating, it causes a lot of havoc for lots of investors. So, and he doesn't want investors to come in to do business with the locals because they will just be thinking about how they are going to get their money out. So we also have transport risk. Transport risk, that's damage or loss of goods in excess. in excess. So this is something that you can mitigate by getting a goods in transit insurance, by getting a goods in transit insurance. Then we have compliance risks. Documents rejected for errors. Yes, so you want to make sure that all your documents, including your bill of lading, is correct. No mistakes, no mistakes. So sometimes you might have gone through, read everything, and they're all perfect. So it's not a bad idea if you also show that to someone. Let someone read it again on your behalf. Let someone look through on your behalf again. So that can work out. Then you have the risk mitigation technique. So what this just means is that how do you reduce the risk? How do you do it so that you don't lose money? This payment term, this payments method class is all about not losing money. Okay, so it's all about not losing money. It's all about making sure that my contract or whatever I want to work on, I'm not losing any form of money in it. So that's really what this class is all about. Because if you don't know your way, or if you don't know, or if you don't understand what to do, you might be taking up on an open account contract. And before you know what, it's looking like your money is not forthcoming. So it's from these methodologies we already taught. That's where you know what to do and how to do it, even before signing an export contract. So we have use of letters of credit for new buyer. So a buyer is a buyer you are just meeting for the first time. No trust within you, no relationship, nothing. Is better they issue a letter of credit for you to work with them. There should be credit insurance policies, marine insurance policies, different insurance policies to ensure all your process step by step. Advanced deposit or partial prepayment. So if possible, go for advanced deposit, even if it's 40%. So a buyer can give you 40% advance and issue a letter of credit to back up the remaining 60%. Then you have hedging currency risks. This is just like buying and investing into the right currency at the right time, but it's not really for this class. So working with reputable freight forwarders is also something, because freight forwarder can also mess one's transaction up. Then ensuring accuracy in documentation. You want to ensure that your documentation is really correct and you don't have any errors there. Then we have role of banks in export payments. So what are the role of banks in export payments? I'm going to try as much as possible to take my time for this. So one, provides trade finance solutions. There are different kind of trade finance that you might need for your export contracts. And it is not every bank that does this, but this is how banks are supposed to come in, by providing different trade finance solutions for exporters, like different products that you can go for. The interest rate that you have to pay, the tenor you have to pay, and all that. So, but we don't usually see this often. Then we have issue and confirm letters of credit. Issue and confirm letters of credit. So banks are supposed to issue you letters of credit if you need it. They're supposed to confirm your letter of credit for you to work on or for you to work with. So those are just the role of the banks in that aspect. They are the ones that will confirm for you or issue on your behalf. Facilitate documentary collection. So if you are using documentary collection, you can use your bank. Your bank will just send that document to the exporter's bank or to the importer's bank, or you send it to the importer's bank yourself. So offer currency exchange and hedging services, all your currency exchange, whatever that you need to do, you do it with your bank. So your bank takes care of it on your behalf. So reduce exporters' payment risk through guarantees. Through guarantees. So they reduce the risk to make sure that you are going to get paid for these shipments that you are working on by getting guarantees from the buyer's bank. From the buyer's bank. So they can, so your own bank can get letter of good standing from the buyer's bank, get the account balance of the buyer, get several other information about the buyer to know that, oh, sure, this buyer can pay for what he wants to buy from you, or that if you execute that contract, you are actually going to get your money back from the buyer, or you are going to certainly get paid by the. Okay, so now we are going to look at the role of banks. Okay, we've spoken about this, so we are going to talk about role of other financial intermediaries. So as I was talking, I explained to you that it's not just banks, like commercial banks alone, that are involved in international trade or export financing. So other financial institutions also do. So we have other financial intermediaries. So export credit agencies who provide credit insurance. So uh, these export credit agencies might not be that much, active in Nigeria like that. So but you can always get whatever you need about export insurance from every insurance company in Nigeria. Then you have multilateral agencies like Afrexim Bank that can sponsor or finance shipments, just like the Exim Bank that you went to. So they fund pre there's pre-shipment finance and there's post-shipment finance. So pre-shipment is before the container is loaded on the vessel. So that's pre-shipment. While post-shipment is when your container has already left and is on the vessel. Okay, so then you have commercial insurers, cover shipment and payment risk. So you can use them towards your export contract. So for your pre-shipment finance, if you need any money that has to be done or used before the container gets on vessel, I know that it's something that you can apply to. Why the post-shipment finance is when your container is already on the vessel and you're already done with your documentation, certification, and all that. And then you need maybe you are waiting for the money that the buyer will pay, but you need that money urgently. You are looking at how to use your documents, your documentation, and all that to raise finance. That's post-shipment finance. So most banks do both. Most banks uh, undergo both finances. So we have practical example, exporting cocoa beans. Exporting cocoa beans. So Nigerian exporters are selling cocoa to Germany. And buyer requests open accounts, but exporter insists on LC at site. Now, let me just say this. Currently, cocoa beans, it's a lot, so you can be selling a ton, let's say like $20,000 or more. And you have a container that will contain about 30 to 35 tons. And let's just say 30 tons. So 30 tons multiplied by $20,000. Uh, that's already giving you something like $600,000. When you look at it, so that's like $600,000. So that's not an amount of money you want to just put you want to just put on an open account. So you want to make sure it's letter of credit. So bank issues letters of credit, exporter ships the cocoa beans, documents checked, and payments received. Simple as ABC. So that's what a letter of credit can do. So letter of credit just make sure that one, you get paid. No matter what's happening, once you fulfill the requirement of that contract, you are getting paid. Two is that it makes everything seamless and easy. You don't have to even talk to the buyer. You don't have to talk to the buyer at all. All you just need to do is to present your document and everything to your own bank and let them know that you fulfilled the terms of the contract and your bank will make that payment happen. So that's what it does. Then let's check the next slide. That's common mistakes in export payment. What are the common mistakes? We have over reliance on open accounts for new buyers. Okay, so people who just want to buy because they might be looking at you, the exporter, that they don't know you. You might not be truthful. You might not ship what you say you ship to them, and all that. And because of that, they might be telling you that, oh, it's only open accounts they can do it to. It's only open accounts they can do it to. So what do you do in that kind of situation? Knowing fully well that open account means that they are not going to pay you anything till when the container gets to them. That's when they'll pay you. So you also have incorrect documentation on the letter of credit. So while your letter of credit is being drafted, you want to make sure everything in your letter of credit aligns with your export contract. So when the first draft is sent, you need to take your time to make sure everything is correct and perfect. Then ignoring exchange rate fluctuations. Well, this has to do with export pricing because when you are giving a quotation, you want to make sure that quotation you are giving matches the exchange rate so that you don't underprice yourself and then make losses later. So if cocoa beans, for instance, let's say a ton, or let's say dry split ginger, a bag of dry split ginger is selling for maybe 200, 300,000 naira. And a tonnage is selling for maybe 2, 3 million naira. And you want to give your quotation in your export pricing in dollars. So you want to make sure that that quotation, you are going to use a rate that's a bit higher. So that if it happens that maybe the exchange rate went up or went down, you won't really be affected. So you want to make sure that the rate you are giving, let's say what you are now giving is $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 per ton. So one, you would already know that if I convert this to Naira, my expenses of going to the market, of making calls, of logistics, everything is going to be sorted. If you are going to have to customize your sack, and all that, for the shipment, you are going to be making your money back. So you want to be sure of that. So, and also failure to verify importers financial strength. So sometimes we do this. So now we can't really do this efficiently. For instance, India, since you are not in India, how do you verify an importer's financial strength? So one of the things I do is that the name of the company, I'll Google it, I'll search for it on LinkedIn. The CEO or whoever is the representative of that company that we are chatting and we are going to sign the document together. I'll search for the person on Google and I'll also search for the person on LinkedIn. So all the information from the information I'm going to be able to guess, that's where I'll know if I can do business with this person or not. So for me, that's how I do at least a bit of verification. So an SME exporter in Lagos shipped sesame seeds under open account to a new buyer. Let's say in Bangladesh, for instance, because Bangladesh can issue letter of credit, India cannot issue letter of credit. So buyer defaulted on payment, exporter incurred losses. So what do you think the exporter is supposed to do? What do you think the Lagos exporter is supposed to do?
I didn't get what you said. You said what?
No, I said, what do you think the exporter is supposed to do in this case? So let's say the exporter shipped sesame seeds to Bangladesh
Okay.
on open account. On open account. Meanwhile, Bangladesh is a country that they allow issuance of letter of credit, and even though Indians cannot do that because Indian government have banned issuance of letters of credit from their banks, but most importers, the serious importers in India, can always do that using banks in Bangladesh since they are just side by side. So, but for this exporter in Lagos now, what do you think she should do because the buyer defaulted on payment?
Well, you get a question, right? You're asking, how do I put it? You're asking about open credits, right? Open
Yes,
open
open account.
open accounts.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to you. You said open account is not good for exporters.
Yes, yes. So if you were in the person's shoes, what would you have done? What would you have requested for?
Go ahead, Doc. I
Okay,
won't go ahead with it.
okay. So, but what if it's let's say cash against document? Would you have gone ahead with cash against document?
Cash against document. I don't understand.
Yes, I explained cash against document now. Now I said cash against document is the same as when you say document against payment. So it wants to look like open account, but just that in this case, you send the document you are supposed to send to the buyer. You send it to the buyer's bank. So before the buyer gets those documents from his bank, he will have to pay. He will have to pay the amount that both of you agreed on for that contract. You have to pay to the bank before the bank releases that document to him for him to go and clear the goods. So when he clears the goods and all that, the bank will now pay to your own account.
Yeah, that is letter of credit now, right?
No, they are different. They are a little bit different. In letter of credit, it is the buyer's bank and your bank that are interacting together. And in letter of credit, there is a guaranteed, it is guaranteed that the buyer already has the money. So when you have a letter of, let me explain this now. If you, as you earn right now, if you are holding a letter of credit for $1 million from, let's say, a Chinese bank issued a $1 million letter of credit to you, it means you can actually wake up this morning, go to Ikoyi, maybe First Bank in Ikoyi, for instance, or VI, wherever the headquarters is, and present them this letter of credit that you need it to be funded, you need the money and all that, and they will look into it. Why? Because you have a guarantee. You know, I said letter of credit is a negotiable instrument. It is a guarantee that the money is there. So you can walk into any place and transact with that letter of credit. But in the case of documentary collections, there is no guarantee. Just that instead of you sending the documents to the to the importer himself, you are trying to reduce the risk or mitigating the risk so that you don't incur any losses by sending that document to your buyer's bank so that the buyer will have to go
Okay.
and collect it from his bank, make payments, collect documents to go and clear his own goods. So
Oh,
that's like the two different, those are the differences between documentary collections and letter of credit.
okay. Okay.
Yes. Because in documentary collection, you don't have a negotiable instrument in your hand. It's not something you can just take to the bank to say you want to receive money or you want to collect money or
Okay.
you want to
Now I
collect
understand.
money. Yes. Yes. So that's like the difference. So let me okay. So the reason why I was asking if you go for documentary collection is that
Yes, I will go for
most time,
documentary collection.
so most times in Nigeria, exporters have done some, would I say, I don't know how to put it, there have been cases, different cases. We've seen things where an importer might issue a letter of credit to an exporter. Exporter will raise money with the letter of credit and use the money to build house, buy land, buy cars instead of doing shipment. We've seen where importer will send advance payment. Exporter will carry advance payment and start buying cars and partying around. So we see all these things a lot. So importer too will now be looking at it that, oh, okay, fine, fine, fine. I'm not going to make any payment. So most of the time, importers that do businesses with Nigerian exporter, they do it with cash against document. Although some still go for letter of credit, but they do it with cash against
Sorry,
document.
I have a question.
Okay, okay. Go
Yeah,
on.
if the exporter does like that, can the importer report?
Yes, the importer can. The importer can report to the Chamber of Commerce in Nigeria, to the Ministry of Trade, to Nigeria Export Promotion Council, and to the CBN. The importer can do that. But uh, but if you look at the situation of Nigeria for now, even if the importer reports, what's going to happen? So the most that will happen is that NEPC will revoke the exporter's license. That's number one. The company might be blacklisted. Number two. The person himself, if the importer is really influential, the person might be tracked down and arrested. But that's really much that can happen. The money might not be coming back. If the importer paid advance, it doesn't mean the importer will be able to get the money back, even if the exporter was arrested. So now, in a situation whereby, let's say the exporter was even able to refund the money, do all that and all that, the exporter will still go and register another business again, collect another NPC number, and still, so in the Nigerian digital security, let's say our database security right now is not up to par. But yes, the importer over there can do a lot to damage. that exporter's reputation. But not every one of them also know this. So okay, I've seen situation whereby what happened was that the importer came to LinkedIn to come and report an exporter. I think the importer paid for charcoal. Yes, the importer paid for maybe up to about 5 to 10 containers of charcoal. So he now came to LinkedIn to report, to talk about the person. So, every Nigerian exporter quickly rushed to the post to ask what happened. Okay, don't worry, we'll make sure to sort out. Why? Because, to protect the interest. Because when one importer is not happy because of one exporter like that, it's something that can affect everybody. They will just look at every exporter in Nigeria, like, oh, all of them, they are not. So everybody quickly came, they called the guy came out, in fact, someone was like, I'm talking to him on phone right now. So everybody came together, so they found solution to it. They found out that, okay, what happened was that as at that time, charcoal prices went up. So he couldn't meet up. He needed like a little more cash to balance so they were able to also let him know what was actually happening in the market. Because sometimes that's why I mentioned that export pricing that I spoke about them. Because sometimes you might give your importer now, you might tell him, this thing is 5 naira. Then maybe after a month, you started working on the contract and price has gone to 6 naira. So you now went back to importer that, listen, the money has gone up, it's now 6 naira. Of course, your own expenses, profit, everything, price should be like maybe 10 naira. Of course, he will now be like, no, we already agreed on this. It will look like you want to defraud him or you just want to collect more money from him. So sometimes they also don't understand this thing. So that's why it's always safe that you use a robust pricing system. Very, very important so that you don't have all these kind of issues. So later they had to come through for both these guys and the exporter in Nigeria. Then they sorted it out. Then he made the shipment, did all the shipment and all that. So this happens
I
a lot. In
also have
fact,
a question
okay,
again.
yes, go on, go on. Yes, go on, go on.
Yeah, like you said, if the price comes up, is a bit high. If the price goes a little bit higher and the importer refuses to add up the money, can the exporter refund the money back to the importer?
Okay, if advance payment has been made or a
Hello?
letter of credit was issued, you can let the importer know. You can let the importer know and let the importer know that, okay, if you can't add up or if you can't mark up the new price, I'll have to refund your money. You can refund it. Then if it's an LC, if it's a letter of credit, you can send proofs. You can do proofs of picture, video, and all that. Let the importer see for himself. And, let the importer knows that, okay, this LC that you sent, this is what it is going to be able to buy. Like the quantity has reduced, and all that. Then you now let him know that should you go ahead or maybe he will just cancel the letter of credit. So, okay. I wanted to say something. So, on the issue of this price, this thing happens a lot. So, there is an LC called a revolving letter of credit. Did I get that right? Yes, there is something called a revolving letter of credit. So, how it works is that, let's say the importer signs, you just registered your company now. So, let's say your company, after you've done all these things you are doing now, let's say you now got a mining cadastre, like maybe for small scale mining and all that. and you are exporting, let's say, copper or manganese or lithium, that kind of thing. And you have this company in China, and they say, oh, we'll sign a 5-year deal with you. All these companies in Asia that used to need these metals, they used to need like an exporter they can do long-term contracts with. So let's say, so they signed a 5-year deal with you. And let's say right now, as we are talking, let's say copper ore is maybe $3,000 per ton, just using this as an example. So let's say currently it is $3,000 per ton. And because of the kind, so let's say in a month, you have to be shipping like maybe 10 containers of copper. So let's say 10. So which means for the remaining of this year, you have about maybe 4 months to go, and you have 10, 10, 10 containers. And then next year, you have full 12 months, 10, 10 containers, like 120 containers. Then coming 120 like that for 5 years. And they give you a letter of credit of about $10 million. And then by the middle of next year, something happened in the economy, the price of copper just spiked up and it was expensive and all that. You see, for some companies, they know these things will happen. So in that your revolving LC, they might have put in that condition, that allowance that will call for a change in your pricing. That if it happens, so it will be flexible to adjust to the new price. So maybe now it was 3,000 naira dollars rather per ton as I went signed, but as I by middle of next year it was $3,200. So it will adjust. Everything will adjust and balance. It will be automated. Meanwhile, there are some contracts. I've seen that kind of contract before. It was for mica, MICA. So it's also a metal. It's being mined, I think maybe in Niger or Kaduna, or I don't know, somewhere in the north. I think around that Niger or something, mica. So this man have like a very long, like 20 years contract, a very long time contract, but the price is fixed. Like for his contract, the price is fixed. And because the price is fixed, there is the year splits into 6 months, 6 months. So I think the first 6 months of the year, my car used to be very expensive. Like the price used to go up. Then for the next 6 years of the year, my car will fall. The price will fall. So during those first 6 months of every year, that man used to struggle. He will be struggling, he'll be struggling, he'll be struggling. But he will be meeting up with his target, with his order, with his shipment. The next 6 months, the price will fall. During that time, the price will fall. He will recover all the losses, all his struggle. He will make more money. He will do very fine. He will flourish. He will expand. You understand? So these are just so most of the time, this pricing thing is dependent on your contract. Is dependent on your contract because in your contract, you could have put in the allowance to say that, especially if it's a long-term contract, to say that. But if it's just short-term, if it's just something that you want to do just once, like just one off, you might not worry about it. You might just tell the person that, by the time we got to the market, by the time we are doing this, price have gone up. We can't do it at that price. Maybe you should add $100, $200 to it, that kind of thing. And if the person says yes, you can go ahead, you get it done. If the person says, no, we can't do that, it's right above our budget, you can say, okay, fine. You won't be able to proceed with the contract. So it's all fine and good. Any other question? Hope you understand that.
Yeah, I understand. I get.
Okay. So I think we have there is a discussion. Okay, so that like there's a discussion here that which payment method do you think Nigerian SMEs should prefer when entering new markets. So let's say you want to start shipping to Vietnam, for instance. Which payment method do you think you want to use?
Mm, also be fine. And documentation, the
Yeah, the
other one, what did
documentary
you call it
collection.
again?
Yes, documentary collection. Yes.
Yeah, documentary collection. Yeah.
Okay, so let's so like now, let me use this Cameroon for instance. In Cameroon, if you are buying wood, if because in Cameroon has a huge market for wood, all the woods across the world, you get them from Cameroon. All these are Zobe, Dushi, Jemina, any kind of wood, you get a lot of it in Cameroon. So in Cameroon, merchants who fall woods and all that, who export woods, they don't do it without an LC. It's a rule. It's like a rule in Cameroon. If you want to fall wood, you want to buy wood, most of the time it's taken to Vietnam. So if you want to do that, they ask for a letter of credit. If you don't have a letter of credit, they are not doing business with you. That's just how the country is designed. So, but in Nigeria, we have a lot of population, the competition is stiff and all that. So, and they also know, some Indian buyers can tell you that, oh, for this commodity, if you can agree to sell it at this price, that price will be ridiculously low, but they might now tell you that we want to buy 1 million tons, just to make it look very huge and very big. And when you take your calculator to multiply it, you are seeing like $200 million, $300 million. So, but things like that often don't work. So it's just always good to go with the secure path or the secure route. So we also have how can exporters balance competitiveness with security when choosing payment terms? How can exporters balance with security when choosing payment terms? If you want to balance that, we spoke about a balanced payment method, and that is your LC, which is your letter of credit. So that's the only thing that gives guarantee when we are talking about payment. The only thing that guarantees you payment is a letter of credit. Is a letter of credit. So, okay, I want you to answer this. So, if you were an importer, which payment method would you prefer and why? So now you are an exporter, but let's say you are on the other side. Let's say you are the importer now. Which payment method would you prefer and why?
I will go for letter of credit.
No, 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 you are not. I'm not saying as an exporter. I'm saying as
I
the
mean, I'm the
importer.
importer. I'm the importer. I'm the importer.
Uh,
Yeah, I
okay,
will
why
go
would
for
you
letter
why
of
would
credit.
you go for letter of credit? Why would you go for letter of credit?
Yeah, I will for it because is good. Is how will I put it? If the exporter before the exporter gets letter of credit,
Yeah.
he must have done bought the goods, right?
No, no, no. Before the exporter gets the letter of credit, both of them will just need to run through the export contract. That's just
Yes.
that's just it. So the letter of credit will just be issued to the exporter from the importer's bank. But it is after the exporter gets the letter of credit that he or she will now start working on the export contract. That's for, let me put it this way. Open account, open account is the um is the best for an importer because an importer has no risk. When we are talking about open account, do you still understand? Do you still
Yeah,
remember
that's
open
true.
account? So now for open
Yes,
account, you
yeah,
are going to use
yes.
your own money to do everything, to buy the goods, to ship it, to get it to the port. It gets to his own port of destination. He will clear the goods, check what's inside the container. So he can even call you out to tell you that 99 is missing, 10 is missing. Okay, okay, the quality has reduced, blah, 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 blah. You don't really have any choice because he has all the power on that shipment. So when it comes to an importer, the open account is their best bet because they don't have to do anything. They just told you that, are you going to ship so so and so to me? And you said yes, I will ship it, and that's it. So you might not even have a written contract. So because open account is just as good as just communicating by mouth, by word of mouth, and saying, okay, yes, I'll ship it to you, and that's all. A lot of people do that. Don't be surprised. A lot of people do that, even from Nigeria. But just that is not good. It's not okay because if anything happens, there is no way to fight that or to go about it. So open account is just better. So today we've looked at export payment methods and their risk. We've spoken about advanced payment, open account, documentary, collections, letters of credit, and consignment. And the best for an exporter is advance payment or letter of credit, followed by documentary collection. So an exporter should not go for uh, open account at all. So open account is usually only safer for the importer and not for the exporter. So with that, we'll come to the end of the class. So if you have any question, you can just put it on the Telegram channel and it will be answered too. So
Okay.
if you have any question, you can let's have it.
No, no, I don't have any question.
Okay, okay, all right. So let me just. Okay, so there are still some things that I'm supposed to send to you. So I've sent some, but I'm waiting to get. There is a folder that I have where I have a lot of documents that's supposed to be sent to you, but you'll get it latest by tomorrow, by God's grace. So thank you very much for today's class.
All right.